Welcome to another video from EarnPed.com. I'm Stevie B, happy to have you all with me today as I am on Planet Cyrene taking part in the Imperium Snow Base event, going after these level 8 Mechalupine Gen Zeros. So today is a very special video. It's been a long time coming. There's going to be a lot of good information in here that I think the vast majority of players will be very excited to hear me finally get to talk about. A lot of stuff that I normally wouldn't be covering on the channel, and we're going to be celebrating something very, very special today. So let's get right to it. Let's get some sips to get this started off right. Trying not to sip in y'all's ear as much lately. But today I want to celebrate something very, very special. So without further ado, please look at your screen. That's right, ranged BLP damage, Great Master level 100. So I finally did it. July 16th, 2025. I finally hit level 100. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long road. And I want to take this opportunity to take a look back and answer a question that I get pretty often. What are some of the biggest mistakes that I made early on in Entropia that other players can learn from my mistakes and hopefully avoid? Now, a lot of this is going to be personal opinion. Some of it is just fact, and some of it is personality defects that maybe not everybody will be experiencing because everybody's built different. But I at least wanted to try and answer that question to help low-level players and new players, maybe even some mid and high-level players, hopefully avoid some of the mistakes that I made to make their path a little bit easier. Before we get into that, there are a couple of other things I want to do though. Number one, I want to take a look at my other profession levels real quick, so that way you guys can kind of have an idea of where I am and where I'm probably ahead of the curve and where I'm a little bit behind the curve. So, like I said, range BLP damage level 100. On my electrokinetic hit, I'm 61.45. That's the one that needs to be level 80 to be able to unlock intuition with Mind Force. On my evader, I am 62 evader, and dodger 51, and then when it comes to my resource collecting, animal looter 58.38. I'm really trying to push that to 60 to get that unlock at 60. Mutant looter level 56, and robot looter level 51. Now, in comparison to other players, my defense is probably a hair higher at this point than theirs is, but that's because I focused so heavily on defense early on in the game when I was still free to play and just farming all the defense that I could. And it seems that that little head start has continued even on to today. So I expect that proportionately my defense will probably be a little bit higher than the average players at my level. Probably not only now, but for some time moving forward. Eventually it might even out a little bit, but for right now it seems that I'm a hair ahead of the curve on the defense. Now, in addition to that, I do have some big news or a big announcement I want to share with you guys. As a lot of you know, I've been putting it out there for the past couple of videos that I'm dealing with some stuff in real life that unfortunately I should not have to deal with, but I am. So, long story short, without disclosing too much information, somebody was stealing money from their employees and altering time cards, and I refused to keep my mouth shut about it. And they thought that they could just sweep that under the rug, and that if I went away, I would just go quietly into the night. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to call yourself a leader, I believe you should be a leader, and you should not be stealing from the people that you are leading. You should not be altering official documentation and all that kind of stuff. If you do all that, you don't have the right to call yourself a leader in my book. So, unfortunately, that has led to some situations in real life that are less than ideal for me. But again, this is something that I morally and ethically just believe you have to take a stand for. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do. Can't give you guys too many more details on it, but I'm just going to leave it at that for now so you guys kind of understand what the situation is. And that's why subscribing to the channel, liking the videos, commenting on the videos, and just watching the videos as often as you can. You know, watching every single playlist every single day, providing us with that support, that means so much, especially right now, as this is the kind of corruption that we're up against and the fight that we're having to fight. Now, in other great news to celebrate this milestone, I have actually been working on a way to allow you guys to be able to support us further without actually having to take money out of your pocket, because I don't believe in stuff like that. That's why you don't hear me asking for donations and crap like that. Yes, this is a very niche game, and yes, it's got a very small player base that makes it very hard to make money with content on YouTube and stuff like that. But there's some things I believe in and some I don't, and I just don't believe in, that kind of support being something from the community. I want to help people make their bankroll go further, not take money out of their pockets. So, what we have done is, Tideclaw Droplet, very nice. Got that rare item hop right there, Tideclaw Droplet. We'll talk about that here in just a second. So, and there's my rare item Hoff on the global board. Stevie B. Braggs found a rare Tideclaw Droplet. Cool. That's exactly what I needed, actually. So what we've done is we have actually partnered with eBay, and eBay now has the ability that whenever you shop on eBay, if you're shopping for certain things or if you're shopping through the links that we provide, then obviously those are affiliate links, and that helps support us and support the channel. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start putting several different links in the descriptions of all my videos, and I'm going to go back and try and add these links retroactively to my old videos. But essentially, if you're buying anything off eBay, doesn't matter what it is, anything at all, there will be a link in the description of this video, and like I said, I'll add it retroactively to all the other videos on the channel and the videos moving forward, that if you just go to that link and then continue shopping on eBay as usual, then we will get an affiliate commission. And in addition to that, I will put stuff in the descriptions and in those links that will direct you to certain searches and certain pages on eBay of stuff that I personally like to buy myself, stuff that I personally collect, stuff that I personally enjoy, stuff that I think other members of the community may also enjoy. It's not going to be a one-size-fits-all, because obviously our common thing here is Entropia, but there will be some interesting links that you will want to check out. And I might slip a special link in there to special items here and there. So in addition to checking out the videos when they drop, be sure to always check out the links in the videos when they drop from now on, because you never know when I'm going to put an interesting link in there that might just tickle your fancy. And like I said, it's a great way to help support us without any additional cost out of y'all's pocket. So we really appreciate that. So that being said, what are some of the mistakes that I have made looking back at my career in Entropia, especially my early days in Entropia? And I would say my first mistake, and probably my biggest mistake, was I had somebody that I knew for a fact was an experienced player who'd been playing for a very long time, that knew the system very, very well. And I did not heed their advice. And sometimes it kind of worked out for me, but there was a lot of luck involved. And the times when it didn't work out for me, it really didn't work out for me. Now, I say that with a word of caution, because there are a lot of players who have played for a long time that still have absolutely no clue what they're doing. Absolutely none. There are a lot of people out there who try and mentor people in game that absolutely should never be mentoring anybody. So I'm not saying as a new player you should just listen to anybody and everybody. But if you find somebody that you know this is a real hardcore player who really knows their stuff, who's really done well in the game and been able to progress or even make money or whatever, if it's somebody that's truly worth having as a mentor, then listen to them and take their advice, not necessarily with a grain of salt, but with multiple grains of salt, because they might just know what they're talking about. So let me give you guys an example of something that I ignored from my mentor early on, and it's something that I regretted. So when I first started playing the game, I had a real problem that a lot of players still have with using limited gear. I wanted everything I had to be unlimited. I wanted to be able to repair everything I had. I didn't want to be having to constantly go buy something else because it was limited and it broke and I had to go buy another one. That is something that I struggled with tremendously. It's something I know a lot of new players struggle with. And the reality of the game is that, yes, sometimes there are unlimited items that are worth having. But for a lot of players, and I would say a lot of low depot and free-to-play players, a lot of players who are just starting out, who are mid-level or below, especially people who are still learning the game, limited gear is almost universally going to be the way to go. I mean, again, there's exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, I would say for most players, limited gear is absolutely amazing at the very early stages of the game, as you're getting to learn Entropia, as you're skilling up, as you're understanding the mechanics of the game and how everything works. And the downside is there's a lot of unlimited gear that gets sold to a lot of newer and lower level players that is absolutely worthless because it's old school level 100 gear that doesn't max out to level 100. So I'll give you guys an example. I bought this sniper rifle years ago. This is an Omegaton M61A5. Does 29 DPS. This is a sniper rifle. It's tier 3.29. And you can see it's got a range of 120 meters. Amazing tagger. And it's got a damage interval of 38.5 to 77. 23 uses per minute. Only 49% efficiency. So this is far from a Loot 2.0 weapon. This is an old school weapon from way back in the day. And I paid a significant chunk of change for this gun. But you can see I'm still not maxed out on it. In order to be fully maxed on this gun, I need to be level 100 range laser damage and level 100 laser sniper hit. Now, luckily I'm in the 90s on those professions, so I've got the full uses per minute. I've got almost the full damage interval, just off by a hair, almost the full range interval, but my hit and my critical hit ability is only 9.5 over 10 and 9.6 over 10. And that's what's going to kill you. If you're not maxed on these old school level 100 weapons, a lot of times you might be able to do some amount of uses per minute. You might be able to do some amount of damage, even if you can't do the full damage interval. But a lot of times you will have 0 over 10 and 0 over 10 for your hit ability and critical hit ability. Or you might have a really low number like 1.5 over 10 for hit and critical hit. Not being maxed on weapons because you bought an old school unlimited piece of junk that you can't max out to level 100, you might as well just be lighting money on fire. Because it's not going to do you, and in fact it's probably going to do you more harm than it does good. And, you know, am I still upset about that purchase? No. Because now that I'm very close to level 100, I plan to use it as a sniper rifle. I plan to use it as a very long-range tagger, and it's going to come in handy on a lot of missions here on Planet Cyrene. But I've had this weapon for years, and I've only recently been able to even begin using it. So a lot of that stuff that is old school unlimited gear, it's just trash now. And that's because the game has changed over the years. The meta has changed. We now have Loot 2.0. You know, there's a lot of things that have changed, and some of the gear from way back in the day just isn't nearly as good as it used to be. I made a video the other day I haven't even published yet. The Zora's HK chain here on Planet Cyrene. The Zora's HK used to be an amazing weapon. Lots of people wanted it. Lots of people completed that chain. And nowadays, it's just not a great weapon to have. It's just not a Loot 2.0 weapon. The Cyrene development team is a great team. At some point, they might find a way to upgrade the Zora's HK to closer to a Loot 2.0 weapon. But it just is what it is. So I would really think hard about going limited versus unlimited as a new player, as a low-level player, as a low depot or free-to-play player. I would really, really analyze the benefits of limited gear versus unlimited gear before you start saying, well, limited gear is all trash. There's a lot of limited gear that is a lot better than its unlimited counterpart. A lot. A good example would be specialty armors. You know, are you going to spend tens of thousands of head on a specialty armor? And you're going to have to keep it constantly repaired to full TT because as unlimited armor decays, the protections drop? Or would it be cheaper and easier on your bankroll to just get a limited version of that armor because you're probably only going to need it for a short amount of time? And yeah, once it's fully decayed out, then, you know, it's worth nothing. But you're going to get the full protection of that armor the entire time. Unlike with unlimited armor, which with, like I said, unlimited armor, the lower the TT value goes, the lower the protections go. So there's a very, very good argument for limited gear for low-level, mid-level, and new players. There's a very good argument for skilling using limited gear in many, many circumstances. I even know some very, very high-level players, some of the highest-level players in the game, that whenever they need to really do some hardcore skilling to skill into a new armor or weapon setup or whatever, they use limited gear to do their skilling. So that is probably the biggest mistake I ever made, was not listening to the advice about limited versus unlimited. Another one of the mistakes I made was I was told by my mentor, like, Mayhem's going to be a ped drain, it's going to be a disaster of a mess, and I intentionally ignored that advice. Personally, I love Mayhem. It's one of my favorite events in game. There's been several different formats that they had that I love. There's been several different formats that they had that I hated. But I'm a huge fan of Mayhem. I think it's an amazing part of the game. I hope they continue to do it for many, many years to come. And you know what? I'm honestly glad that I ignored that advice and I chose to compete. And yeah, I'm not going to say it went perfect. There was some snafus along the way. I made plenty of mistakes. And I had a ton of fun doing it, though, and at the end of the day, it worked out for me. There's a lot of people it doesn't work out for, but I got a little bit lucky, and God was looking out for me, and everything just kind of, the stars aligned. So overall, should I have listened? Maybe. But did I? No. Did it still work out? Yeah, but there's no guarantee that was going to happen. And actually, one of the biggest mistakes I made was because I ignored the advice on Mayhem. And back then, it was a competition format. I actually was kind of handicapped because I had to stay artificially low level to be able to have a better shot at being able to place in Mayhem events because of the gear I was using or the gear I was renting, the level I was playing at, and all of that. Back when it was a competition format, there used to be level caps. So I actually had to stay artificially low level for a very, very long time. In fact, there was one time in between Mayhems, I literally could do nothing in game. I would literally log in, my avatar never moved, I would chat with my friends, and then I would have to log back out because I was so close to that level cap that I literally just couldn't do a thing. And having that artificially low level for a very long time while I was doing those competitions, that really hurt me in the long run. Even today, I'm still making up for it. I would be well over level 60 animal looter if I had been grinding out hunting this entire time. If I hadn't had to stay artificially low level for so long because of the old Mayhem system and the way the caps were for the different categories, I would have hit level 100 well over a year ago. I would have hit level 60 animal looter well over a year ago. It really, really handicapped me. So I wish I had started skilling sooner and actually been skilling even more hardcore. So another one, and I'm going to kind of wrap it up with this one, is getting to know the game mechanics, the skilling mechanics, and how to properly look for markup opportunities and then chase those opportunities was something that I did not focus nearly on enough in the early days, and it's something that I probably still need to focus even harder on now. I try and spend a lot of my time focusing on how to make great content for you guys and meeting the few goals that I set for myself at a time. But I need to spend even more time researching the opportunities that are out there because this game is constantly changing, it's constantly evolving, and what you did yesterday might not necessarily work tomorrow. What you do tomorrow might not necessarily work 6 months from now. But there's always an opportunity somewhere in the game. That is one of the biggest things I've learned over the years. And of course, the biggest thing that everybody needs to learn right away, you have to chase the markup. You are never going to get back more than you put in. It would be impossible because if that happened, Mindark wouldn't be able to keep the lights on. Mindark has to be able to pay the electric bill. They have to be able to keep the servers up. They have to be able to pay the development team. And if they're giving back more than they're getting, then those bills wouldn't get paid and the game would just go away. It would just vanish. So that means we are always, always, always going to get back some amount less than what we put in. So TT in is always going to be greater than TT out, as it should be. And because of that, we need to create a thriving economy where we can focus on markup, selling our loot to other players for markup, because that's where our profit's going to come from. And nobody, I don't care how good you are, nobody is going to be able to be self-sufficient with every single item in game they need 100% of the time. That's just not a thing. You're never going to have so much free time and be so good at hunting, so good at mining, and so good at crafting. You can gather everything you need in a timely manner for every single goal you have. So working together, if we all chase markup, believe it or not, we can all chase markup while still creating a completely thriving economy. Because the markup that I'm selling to you is not going to be the same as the markup that you're selling me. And the markup that we're selling to each other is not going to be the same that this other guy over here is going to be selling to the two of us. So take all those things, add them together, make it your own, and most importantly, have fun, make some memories, set a few goals, and keep grinding. So where do we go from here? Well, as I've said before, this is a game where you play until your eyes bleed, and then once your eyeballs have completely bled out of the sockets in your head, you're off to a good start. So where do we go now that we've reached level 100? Well, the good news is, as of today, I can officially start playing Entropia Universe. Because as of today, hitting level 100, I think it's about time we actually get started now. Y'all have a good one.